Hello, everyone, and welcome to Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and in case you all don't know, the month of May of every year is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I am a huge advocate for mental health, and not just in the month of May, but 365, 24/7. It is important, especially when it comes to the black community, because this is a mental illness that is not talked about enough in the black community, and honestly, in all communities, not just relegated to one particular race or community. I'm mainly saying that because I'm a part of the black community. And so I know how it's treated in the black community, but all races, ethnicities, sexualities, nationalities, they all have mental health issues. Everybody walking planet Earth has a touch of mental health illness in some shape, form, or fashion. It may not be as big as, let's say, schizophrenia. It may be something traumatic that happened to you, or something that happened to you in your childhood that's just steering your life as a grown adult, and you really don't know why. You don't know why you act the way you act or feel the way you feel about a certain issue or how you conduct yourself, but it could have been how you was brought up. And a lot of that is oftentimes is put on the parents, put on how your parents raised you and stuff like that. But they also had mental health issues, past trauma, childhood trauma that went untreated, and they just passed it on. It's a generational thing in some cases, in most cases. And so if we don't cut it off at this generation or your children's generation and start anew, start focusing on your mental health, start talking about your mental health, start talking about the things that have been troubling you throughout your life and or traumatized you as a child or even as an adult, things that have just warped your mind in a way that this isn't normal. You know that this doesn't feel right, yet you can't help yourself but to do the things that go against what, I guess, for lack of a better term, common sense would allow you to do. You know better, but for some strange reason, you can't do better. And that's all part of mental health, and yes, there's the other illnesses that are widely known, schizophrenia, bipolarism, anxiety, depression, and all these other good things. Well, not good, but all these other things that trouble millions, if not billions, of people every single day. And so the awareness of it all is for us, all of us, me included, to get a checkup from the neck up. We have to open up to people. I think about when I was a child, and this didn't particularly come from my dad or any of my parents or anybody around me. It was just kind of a unwritten rule. Crying. When we grew up, crying was a no-no, especially for a boy. If you was male, crying was a no-no because it was looked upon as being weak. Oh, don't cry. It don't matter what happened. You could get hit by a bus. Oh, get up and just rub some dirt on it and keep walking. Don't cry. Don't show any emotion. And that was supposed to toughen you up, because you was considered weak or a wimp if you cried in front of people or you showed that you were vulnerable. So in an effort to make you hard, make you this tough, grizzled man, you became this guarded, this hardened, calloused human being that doesn't show emotion, that doesn't open up to whether it be your significant other or your loved ones around you, your parents, your brothers, sisters, whoever, friends, best friend, co-workers, you bottle all that stuff in and you never open up to people. You never show them or tell them how you truly feel, what you're thinking at that moment. And relationships suffer because of this. And I know this as a fact. I have in my past relationships, even current, that I had trouble opening up. And it was not because of that person. It was because the person before them. I've been hurt in the past, so I didn't want to open myself up to be hurt again. No matter what it was, I just didn't want to be hurt, because it hurts. Nobody wants to be hurt. Nobody wants their feelings crushed, their heart broken. That is devastating. And so in an effort to protect my feelings, I just closed myself in. But relationships suffer because of that, and then I'm just talking about my marriage. I'm talking about friends. I'm talking about loved ones. I was guarded with everybody. I didn't show who I was. Somebody told me one time, this was years ago. We were, I forgot what the meeting was. We could have been at work or somewhere. But the guy said, like, man, I can read everybody here except you. And I took pride in that because at that time, I didn't want nobody to read me. I didn't want anybody to know what I was thinking. I didn't want anybody to know how I was feeling. I just wanted to be. I just wanted to do what I had to do and go about my business. That's the attitude I had. But in the grand scheme of it all, I was suffering on the inside. Holding all that stuff, it deteriorates you from the inside out. And now I sit here and I'm trying to rebuild myself from the inside out. I'm learning to love myself so I can love others properly. Because that was one of the realizations I went through when I went through my little self-intervention that I had, that I truly didn't love myself because I didn't know anything about myself. I was so guarded. I would even guard it from myself. That's how guarded I was. I didn't want to express feelings. And once again, I want to go back. Nobody taught me this. This wasn't preached to me in any shape, form, or fashion by anybody I know. It was just something that was a part of me. I was so guarded. And I guess a lot of that comes from the trauma I went through as a kid, being picked on and bullied and insulted in school. Being to this day, and I'm knocking at 50's door. And to this day, I can't get over sitting in a classroom where it was like, okay, today is pick on Kevin Day. And everybody in that class just had an insult for me. And that includes the teacher. It was everybody in the class. And it was the most depressing day of my life because I felt like nobody liked me. Nobody liked me. And I did nothing. And that's what made it even worse. I didn't say nothing. I didn't do anything to instigate this. I was just coming into school like I was supposed to. And I got demolished in that classroom. And from that moment on, I just kept to myself. I didn't speak to nobody. Oddly enough, I still made friends. I still had a ton of friends in school. I don't know how. I really don't know how. But I really didn't want to be bothered. I was friends with these people. And some of them are still friends to this day. But I really didn't want to be bothered. It's good that I got some really good friends during my childhood. But I said all that to say that a lot of how I felt with the guarding my feelings or trying to protect my feelings came from a lot of that, a lot of that in school. And I never told my parents that. I never ran home and said, oh, they pick it on me, because once again, I didn't want to show my emotions. And so I just kept it all to myself. And for the better part of 40 years, it just ate me up. I never got revenge. I never uh, uh, built up the courage to come back at them. I didn't care about that because it didn't erase what happened. I thought about it. I thought about insulting them because I could rib with the best of them, but I just didn't. I didn't have any desire to. I didn't care because it wouldn't erase what took place. But I thank God that I'm in a better place now. I feel like a brand new person. The problem I have now is trying to convince others that I'm not the same person that I used to be. I'm the same, but I'm not the same. I'm not guarded. I'm willing to talk. I'm willing to open up. I'm willing to have those deep conversations with others. Express my feelings, tell them about myself, tell them what my thoughts are. And it's weird to a lot of people. When I talk now. Uh, this podcast helped. I will say that. Talking to all of you for the past, how long I've been doing this, for 4 years. It's been helping. You know, so I'm glad I'm on the right track. But like I was saying to start off this show, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm just making you aware of what I went through. Maybe my little story may inspire you to take some of the locks off, to crack that door open. And if that's the case, I'm happy to be the jumping off point for a lot of you out there. But this year's theme for Mental Health Awareness Month is More Good Days Together. And basically the theme is encouraging us all to reflect on what a good day looks like, both for ourselves and for our communities, wherever you may be. Together, we can use the insight to connect people to the right support at the right time and shape education and community engagement to make more good days possible for all. And I can't echo that enough. The fact that you can't fight this battle on your own. It's the hardest battle to fight on your own. Well, one of the hardest battles to fight on your own. And you need help, man. We all need help. And we all need to talk to somebody or get encouragement from somebody. If not a therapist, if not a psychologist, maybe, if you're a spiritual person, maybe it's your preacher, or your priest, or your pastor. If you're not a spiritual person, maybe it's just your mom or your dad. Or it could be your significant other. It could be your best friend. It could be anybody, but you have to talk to somebody just to get it out. Maybe, what the best conversation you can have is with somebody who just listens. They don't have to give their opinion. They don't have to give their insight. They don't have to tell you what to do. Sometimes the best conversation you can have with an individual is an individual who just sits there, shuts up, and just listens. Because half the time we could just need to release. We just want to release. Keeping all that stuff bottled in, it's like pressure. It's like any pressure applied on a pipe. All that water, and if the pipe is clogged up, eventually that pipe is going to burst. If you keep running the water through. And so you need a release. And talking to somebody, just opening up, allowing yourself to open up and stop being afraid of being judged. Just let it out. Now, if you got some perverted, demented stuff on your mind, yeah, you do need to seek some serious help. Please, here are some key facts about mental health. I was rambling on. I was supposed to start off the show with it, but here we go. Despite overwhelming need for mental health treatment, nearly 30 million people across the United States don't have access to affordable health care, mental health care, and substance use treatment, which is also a contributing factor. Around 1 in 5 adults experience any mental illness in the past year. 1 in 20 adults experience serious mental illness in the past year. 1 in 5 youths have a mental health condition, with anxiety being the most common of these conditions. Globally, about 35% of mental illness emerged by the age of 14 years old, with nearly 63% appearing at the age of 25 years old. In 2023, 20% of high school students in the United States actually considered committing suicide. See, these are troubling numbers and statistics, especially if these individuals not being treated or not in any type of mental health care. And so it is frightening, and this is why months like these are paramount, super important, to get the word out, to get the conversation going, to help out, especially that high school statistic with 20% of high schoolers who are considering suicide. I mean, that's it. There, let me say like this: in no time, I don't care if you're in high school, college, a career-driven person in their 40s. It doesn't matter what the age is. Suicide should be the furthest thing on your mind. And you're talking or listening to a person right now who has considered and even attempted once to commit suicide in his life. And it's troubling to hear that number. I know one time that I attempted, I was in high school. So I would be in that boat. I'll be in that 20, if you go back to the 90s, late 90s. And so it's troubling that it's still a problem now. And for high schoolers to feel like that, and life hadn't even began yet. They haven't even experienced life. They haven't experienced the hardships of trying to pay your rent or pay your mortgage and go to work every day, and a job that doesn't appreciate you, trying to keep your marriage afloat and keep it on track, and making sure the kids are taken care of, that they have food to eat, that they can go to a good school and hopefully do better than you actually did growing up, because all parents want their children to do better than what they did, succeed more than what they did. And it's troubling to know that high schoolers, that kids who still stay at home with mom with zero responsibilities. Well, I'm not going to say zero, but definitely not as much as an adult who are off on their own, are troubled to the point where they want to just check out. And a lot of it is not bullying, It's not just bullying. And I know that's the go-to. It is a factor for a lot of it. A portion of that 20% is bullying. But some of it is that these children are dealing with some childhood trauma. They are dealing with some issues that they don't know how to handle it. And part of that is because they don't have the resources. Schools don't have on-site counselors like that. They don't have access to a therapist and all this here. Now, in this day and age, with the advent of the internet and all this other stuff, yeah, you can probably hop online and Google a therapist. There's a service. What is it? Better Health or something like that. I think you can get access to that on the internet and all that good stuff, which is great, but a lot of that you have to pay for. And these kids, half of them don't have jobs, If they do have jobs, they're working at Burger King or McDonald's making nothing. you know, and their mind is on buying shoes and clothes and iPhones and all that good stuff. And so they're not worried about paying for a therapist. So there's a lot that adults need to step up and do to try to help kids with mental health. Just for an example, like me, like when it came to my kids, I knew, I knew that is a genetic thing. I knew that whatever it was I had, I probably passed it on to one of my girls. And so that was my biggest fear as a father. So I tried my best to try to steer them, away from all of the trauma that I had to go through. Now, you can't stop everything. I couldn't be with them 24/7, and there's a lot of things that did slip through the cracks, but I did do my best, and I think that they did turn out better than I did. It wasn't, they didn't just flow through their childhood sliding on a rainbow. There was some rough patches there, like any other teenager and all this other stuff. Went through the same things like any average teenager or adolescent. But for the most part, I kind of steered them away from the big ones, the with the drugs and the teenage pregnancies and that stuff. Okay, we dodged that bullet. We managed to dodge that bullet, but there's still a lot more, mentally that I tried to help them out with as well. Trying to express my experiences through high school. I think my girls were the only ones that I actually opened up to, that I actually told them what I went through as a child, as a young adult, and all this other stuff. I tried to tell them that, look, in the event that y'all go through ABC, here's XYZ, because I went through it. I've been there, done that. So I know how you're feeling. And for the most part, it worked, because they'll come to me about certain things. Now today, they'll come to me about certain things that they think that I can relate to, as long as there's no female issues, because I'm the last person you want to talk to. Look, you need to talk to your mom about that. But other stuff is they do open up and talk to me about that, and that was another great thing, because kids don't want to talk to their parents about nothing, and they're so guarded. That's every kid. But because I was with my parents, I didn't tell them everything. I felt like I knew everything, and most kids feel like they know more than their parents, which is the craziest thing ever. Because I look back now and think of how stupid I was. The people lived through everything. It actually worse than me. My parents grew up during the Jim Crow era, and so I think they in rural Mississippi. So I think their experiences were just a tad bit more elevated than mine, but I felt like I had it going on. Now we fast forward to 2026, and it looks like we're getting back into the Jim Crow era, but that's another show for another day. But I'm glad that my girls opened up to me. Half the time, well, not half, 75% of the time, it was stuff I didn't want to hear. It was stuff that I didn't want to listen to, because I go into dad mode. I want to be like, wait, well, hold up. Wait, you did what? You talked to who? He wants to what? It's stuff like that. But I have to be an ear. Going back to what I was saying a little while ago, sometimes you just have to listen. And I just listened to them. And when they directly asked me for advice, I gave them the advice. What I thought. I tried to give them their independence. Enough. Not full independence. I'm still daddy. But I try to give them some sense of independence, to try to think on their own, to figure it out, because sadly, daddy is not going to be around forever. And that day could be today, tomorrow, next week, whenever. I need you to be able to make a decision on your own. And so that's why I kind of gave him that little independence thing. But I'm going once again on a little tangent. That's another thing with my mental illness. I ramble. I ramble a lot. I ramble when I talk about something that's passionate to me. And this is very passionate to me because it's serious. This is a serious thing. There's a lot of people who are walking around with these mental illnesses that are unchecked and think they're all right. Look at MAGA. Anywho's, more good days together. Let's seek some help. Let's focus on those who really need help. Let's try to help those who need help. Whatever we can do, reach out, talk. Be that ear, be that shoulder. Be all you can be. And if you are somebody, that person that needs a shoulder, that needs to be talked to, that needs somebody to listen to you, seek somebody out before you take the nuclear route. Seek some help out. And there are services out there, there are programs out there, there are resources out there that can help you. They're not super accessible, unfortunately, but you can find them. Just do a little research. Do a little research before you do something crazy. Don't do anything crazy. Seek the help. Speaking of seeking help, let's go into our review today. A film that came out in 2012. It is none other than Silver Linings Playbook. This is a film written and directed by David O. Russell, starring Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, which got her an Academy Award for Best Actress in this film. Her performance in this film was awesome. But this film tells the story of a man with bipolar disorder who is released from a psychiatric hospital and moves in with his parents, who are played by Robert De Niro and Jacki Weaver. He's determined to rekindle his love, or restore his love, with his ex-wife, and he meets a young widow named Tiffany, played by Jennifer Lawrence, who offers to help him in entering a dance competition with her. The two become closer as a team, and Pat, who is our main character, his father and Tiffany examine their relationships with each other as they cope with their own individual situations. I never was a big David O. Russell guy. This before all the stuff came out on how he directs a set. Never was a big David O. Russell guy, at least his films. Three Kings were fine. I like Three Kings, but I never liked any of his other movies. They all the same to me. They all felt the same. Until The Fighter came out. Loved The Fighter. And I love this film. Silver Linings Playbook does not scream Kevin Reed. This is not the movie that I would normally run out to go see. In fact, I didn't run out and go see this movie. I saw this when it came out on HBO or Cinemax, wherever it was. But I waited till it hit the television screen, and I finally checked it out. And I instantly regretted it. I was like, man, this is a really good movie. This movie is super good. It's so good. The performances are great. The story is awesome. It's relatable. Everything about it was just fantastic. In the film, it just focuses on, navigating life with this bipolar disorder and trauma. And it emphasized that healing is supportive. It's sharing the journey rather than an individual one. It also highlights family dysfunction, between Bradley Cooper's character and Robert De Niro and all this here. It dove into that. Love's power. The power to rehabilitate. Love is the key. Love is the answer. It doesn't matter what the question is. And then it skates that thin line between normal and unconventional behavior. And so it showcased this. And I look, when I saw Bradley Cooper's character with this bipolar disorder, it echoed somebody who I know personally who has bipolar disorder. And I saw elements of this individual that I know in Bradley Cooper's character. That's how I know he was nailing it. He was eating in this movie. But the key themes of the movie, you had mental health and resilience. The resilience, man. Because you had Pat, who is Bradley Cooper's character. He has bipolar disorder. And you have Tiffany, played by the Academy Award winning Jennifer Lawrence. She was dealing with depression and trauma. And so they're both dealing with their own issues, and they come together unknowingly. This wasn't the nucleus of their quote unquote relationship, to try to fix one another or try to cope with their problems or their issues. That wasn't the reason, but it organically turned into that. And another great thing about this movie, it kind of redefines normal. What is normal? Really, when you really sit down and think about it, what is normal? Now, everybody walks around here and think that they're normal. Everybody, a serial killer thinks he's normal. Everybody thinks they're normal. So what is the true definition of normal? There isn't any true definition. There's really no such thing as normal. It's a subjective concept. It's something that we conjure in our mind that, okay, this is how I am, so it works for me. I'm happy, so it must be normal. But on the outside looking in, I may look at you and be like, "Oh, are you weird?" And vice versa. There's no real definition of normal. I don't think that exists, and I think this film highlights that in such a unconventional way, but a way that it actually worked. I could give props to David O. Russell. It's cool the way they use the Philadelphia Eagles, the football team, as kind of a metaphor for all that in the film, and it's genius. I think it's genius, and the way the movie plays out with the healing through action and routine, with the dance competition, and it was therapeutic for Pat and Tiffany because it represents structure. It represented a goal. It represented bringing some type of stability into their lives. And it was a nice little nugget, to put in there. Adds that force, something that they can focus on, something that these two characters with two vastly different mental illnesses can find one common thing to help them, and at the same time draw them together and connect. It was awesome. I thought it was beautiful. But the standout in this whole movie is, of course, Jennifer Lawrence. Now, I make no bones about it. You want to talk about crush? I will risk it all for Jennifer Lawrence. I have the biggest crush on Jennifer Lawrence, and this movie is, I think, is where it all started. I think this was the movie I looked at her. It was like, man, she is unbelievable. She is unbelievably gorgeous in this movie, and then you add on the fact that she acted her butt off in this film. She does her best acting with David O. Russell. It's something about that connection. It's all directors have that muse, For Martin Scorsese is Robert De Niro. Later in his career, it was Leonardo DiCaprio. They have that connection. They just get each other. Same thing here with David O. Russell and Jennifer Lawrence. They've been in, I think, 3 movies. They made 3 movies together. All of them, Jennifer Lawrence gave some powerhouse performances. This one got her an Academy Award. I think the other one she was nominated for. if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was American Hustle. She was nominated for that, and Joy. So yeah, 3 times. The 3 times she worked with David O. Russell, she's been nominated and won one of them. And that was for Silver Linings Playbook. I look, man, her performance was so good. You forgot about everybody else. You forgot what Bradley Cooper, and he's the star. We're following his character, but you can't help but follow her character and what she's going through, because what she's going through is equally as traumatic. And once again, another nice nugget about this movie is the fact that no mental illness was greater than the other. Everybody got their fair share, equal share, to showcase the fact that all mental illness is an issue, that they're all on the same level. It all needs to be treated. It all needs to be cared for in the same manner. The Silver Lining Playbook, if you've never seen it, it is really, really good. It's one of those sneaky, great movies that you would probably put this film in your top 20, if not 10, but I wouldn't go that high with it. But I think it's in my top 20. I think it's in my top 20 as favorite films. And it really all because of Jennifer Lawrence. It is not because I was crushing and gushing and drooling over in the movie. No, her performance was dynamite. She was amazing in this movie. One of the best performances I've seen in a long, long time. But Silver Linings Playbook gets a letter grade of an A. Yeah, it's really good movie, and it's one of those films that really is not to make fun of mental illness. It's really to showcase it. It's really to bring awareness to it, and I think it fits the theme of this year's Mental Health Awareness Month. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this show. I really do appreciate everybody who checks out the show, who supports the show, who continuously comes back and listen to my reviews, to my commentary, to me ramble about nothing. It's truly a help to my mental health. And so I really, really do thank you all from the bottom of my heart. If you need help in regards of your mental health or somebody you love, I'm going to put a link to the mental health website. Maybe it can help you out. It'll be in the description of this show. Everybody, thank you for joining me. If you want to contact the show, email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to movie goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this little chit chat about Mental Health Awareness Month. This month, the month of May, where the theme is more good days together. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.